Hey everyone, so today, welcome to Handling History Series Episode 1. Today I'm going to teach y'all how to answer lower secondary history inference questions. So at lower sec level, there are three kinds of inference questions that you need to know for source-based questions. So basically, source-based question means that they'll give you a source and then you have to answer questions that follow it. There are three types of inference questions as what I said just now, and these three types are message, tone, and purpose. So for inference of message, it is basically what is the source trying to tell you. And for inference of tone, it's more of what is the tone of the source's creator or the tone of the source in general, if let's say it's a cartoon or something like that. And what is the stand? Sometimes you can kind of deduce what is the stand of the creator of the source based on their tone. For example, if the creator is mocking and if the creator is mocking, you can kind of sense that the creator is probably not standing on the side of whatever he or she is portraying. Lastly is purpose, which is basically what is the ulterior motive of this source. So here is a little mind map for you to take a look, and this was what I created last year, so it's not very comprehensive or specific to lower sec per se, because it's more of sec 2 only. Okay, so before we begin, remember that an inference is an educated deduction. So you must look for clues in the source given to aid in making an inference and not just anyhow pluck inferences out of nowhere. And you also have to make use of the source provenance, especially for inference of purpose, because it might shed some light on what the ulterior motive is. For example, if let's say a speech is given at a political rally, there might be an ulterior motive. So now let's go into inference of message. It's a basic inference question that we probably learn at the start of Sec 1. And you all can use the SEE structure, which is statement, evidence, elaboration. One paragraph is needed only, and it can be very, very concise. So it doesn't have to be very long-winded, and make sure that you keep it concise so that your focus is there. For example, the source is like this: it's very late already, why is Mary still up? So the question is, what is this source saying about what Mary should be doing? The source is saying that Mary should be sleeping because it's very late already, as seen in the source, so you can use it as evidence. And then the elaboration is that, what does it's very late already mean? So you have to elaborate that, which is showing that the time is not early. And the fact that Mary is awake is something that is rather astounding. Yeah, and it's not expected because she should be sleeping. Hence, you kind of link it back to your statement. Now here's a very short snippet that I wrote for the first Indochina War, which is like upper sec stuff. So this is the inference. And according to the source, blah blah blah, this is your evidence. So you're quoting from the source. Remember to quote unless it's a cartoon. If it's a cartoon, you have to describe very vividly exactly what they're doing. And for a cartoon inference of message, you also must link to CK, your contextual knowledge, which is not something that you need to do for inference of message for worded sources, but for cartoons you must, or any drawings for that matter. And this is your elaboration. And then furthermore, I gave another point, like it's more of a sub point, and then I back it up with my evidence, which is quoting from the source again. And then this part is the elaboration of that second sub point, and then this part is the link. The last part is very important to have links so that you can have greater focus for your answer, so you know what you're talking about. At the same time, it gives the teacher some kind of idea about what you're talking about. Next, inference of tone. You can use the SEE structure as well, and some tone words that you can use are like mocking, unhappy, questioning, skeptical. The list goes on. It's not exhaustive. Now an example is, the source is, it is no wonder that everyone adores Peter, he's so likable. You can really tell by the tone. You can really tell the tone from this purposeful use of word, like a porcupine, and then there's a simile here So you can kind of understand what the creator of the source is, where the creator of the source is coming from. So the statement is, the tone is sarcastic, because this is actually a simile that's not very nice. And you can back it up with elaboration. Yep. Next, for inference of purpose is by far the most challenging, because I think we only get to it in Sec 2. So this is how it goes. So for example, if let's say it's a speech made by Mary, a student in XXX school, during a speech before the election of class monitor. She's the only other candidate up for elections besides Peter, so we're going to look at what happens to Peter later. And she really wants the role. So this part is a source provenance, and it's really, really important, especially when you're doing purpose questions, because it can shed some light onto what the ulterior motive may be like. So the source is this, you can read it for yourself. And the purpose is to convince. So there are actually a few key things that you have to note for purpose questions, which is basically target audience, your intended impact, and your message. So first, for inference of purpose, you must first infer the message and then infer who this message is for with the intended impact. So basically, why would this person want to make this source for what? And then you have to back it up like any inference of message question by using evidence and elaboration, evidence quoting from the source. So let's break down this response. The purpose is to convince, which is the active verb. Oh, I forgot, there's also another thing that you need to do, which is active verb. This is the active verb. It must be something that impacts and is more active than passive. So that's why it's called active verb. And then this is the message, which is that Peter is not suitable. So what if Peter is not suitable? So that they will not vote for him in the upcoming class monitor election, which we know from the provenance. So you can kind of understand how we can use the provenance to but to answer purpose questions. So this is the intended impact. And the target audience is the class. Now the evidence is, you can quote anything. I just quoted one line, and the elaboration is, you can quote anything as long as you manage to back it up. And then my elaboration is purposeful use of words, including all these very including words that are very on one end of the spectrum. So now I'm gonna introduce to you this very special term called SOLAR. It's basically slant over generalization, because SOLAR is slant over generalization, loaded language, assumptions, and repetition. So what is slant? It basically means a bias. So means that there might be an ulterior or already there's already a bias inside. So that's why it may not be so. That's why there might be an ulterior motive. Next, overgeneralization can be kind of suspicious. For example, everyone, anyone. These are very suspicious terms. Loaded language, for example, all these intolerable, extremely. Assumptions. I can't think of any example right now, but assumptions may be something like all dogs are cute. And for repetition, you can already see it in the source, which is extremely. There's always a kind of idea for repetition, which is the rule of three. This rule of three, as I said in the, I think I said it down here. The rule of three kind of like controls your mind, and it can be mostly found in political speeches or other speeches which have an intent. So yeah, and usually sources with a balanced approach basically don't have SOLAR, is more reliable. So some of the overgeneralizations are like always, never, all, everyone. And for purpose questions, you must always support your answer with contextual knowledge. In this case, I cannot give you an example because it's a man-made source. And the contextual knowledge must be used to support your inference. Example, what was happening at the time of class monitor election, etc. So this contextual knowledge cannot be anything that you pluck out from the air. Like, for example, if this source is talking about class election, you don't go and talk about Singapore's independence date and all those things. So although you have contextual knowledge, you must pick the right ones to use. So this is an example of my own answer for another question. So it's convince, which is the active verb. The locals in Vietnam is the target audience. That the French were incapable colonial masters, this is the message. So that the locals in Vietnam would support, this is your intended impact already, to support the communist efforts of the Viet Minh to remove the French colonial power from Vietnam and make Vietnam an independent country. So this part is where I give you my evidence and then I give you my elaboration. And then this part, again, evidence, because I use furthermore, you have to use linking words if let's say your answer is long so that it provides some flow. And then after that, this part below is your elaboration. And then it's very important for you to write from my contextual knowledge, because sometimes markers, they might have to go through a lot of scripts, so you have to use these indicators for them to be guided in your answer and so that you can move up the LOMs. So this is the very specific contextual knowledge. You must have time, you must have space, you must have specific dates, what exactly happened that can support your answer. So this is just a sample. Now, this is a very, very short lesson on answering inferences, and we have come to the end of it. So if you want to see a more comprehensive set of notes, feel free to head over to Carousel at The Daydreamer. This is my username, it's spelled really weirdly, to purchase the Handling History Series notes, which consists of lower sec answering techniques and sec 2 history content that I used for my exam last year, and it's very, very helpful. So text me the promo code in bold here to my Carousel private message to enjoy a 25% discount. I'm gonna sell it at $15 instead of the usual price of $20, and the notes will be shared soft copy online. There's no hard copies. Thanks for tuning in today, and see you soon.